So I was in the business district yesterday, the banking district, because I didn't realize I was in the AI-driven automation. Um, it just became a part of the process. So I thought, okay, well, there's a massive transition. Normally things take about 5 years. If you look, well, I think you're a bit young, but when Facebook still came out, social media was like stupid. Like no one cared about it. And then within 5 years, this whole social media thing just it got crazy. And we are into about the third year of this AI thing. So there's still time now to get in before it gets crazy. But the difference is, and I've been watching a lot of the movie The Big Short, or just like watching kind of clips on it on YouTube. And there's this one scene where the dude, one of the main actors, says like we're in a bubble, like this is going to fall apart. And they're talking about subprime variable rates in the loaning industry for property. So and it crashed obviously the economy in 2008 and so on. So that's a feeling that like I'm trying to convey the feeling. I'm trying to like put words to it, but it's ultimately a feeling. And I was walking past Allen Gray and Price Waterhouse Coopers and one of the big national banks here and stuff. And I was sitting on the stairs outside the very fancy building, and I looked upon the operation. And I just saw each individual walk out. It was around about lunchtime, so I got to see a good sample of the characters that were at the desks and so forth. So all these people were walking out of the building to go to the restaurants, whatever, and the class of person that was doing so, just from a very blunt perspective, were replaceable. The the chicks who were kind of just overweight admin pushers, um, replaceable. The clerks, the managers, the hotshots that were self-entitled and ego-driven. Every person that came out, I just thought to myself, like, what makes you valuable at Allen Gray? Allen Gray isn't a gardening company or someone who comes to clean the house and remove the rubbish. That's a different conversation. That's robotics. But this is financial stuff. And after seeing the inside, the construct of what I'm now growing towards and what I'm going to build for your dad and so on, it made me go cold and concerned because there's some stuff floating around kind of like YouTube, and I mean a lot of people rather watch, cats getting wet on whatever just to boost their dopamine. So I'm not saying everyone's aware of what the AI guys are saying, but the AI guys are like who've been in the game for like 20 years. Um, to kind of put it in perspective, those guys are on like chapter 20. I'm on chapter 4 in comparison. And I'm getting to see what is happening on a ground level. No, I'm getting to see what's happening under the hood. I'm getting to understand the mechanics and how things move along from one node to the next node, and then the loop and the back and the validation, all that kind of shit. So so from that aspect, I'm now thinking these kind of doom and gloom dudes who have been in AI or like in the industry for 20 years, I can kind of now see what they're warning the public about. And it is making skilled people. This is not news, but it's just a feeling that hit me like lightning yesterday. Um, and sitting with these big glass fancy buildings, like all of that kind of stuff, just hit me going, these people have no idea what's coming. They are not special snowflakes. They are not irreplaceable. And even just like photographers or like what's going on, photographers can't compete against the latest release of Google's Nano Banana, whatever they've called it. The imagery, the context, the lighting, the texture, what can get done in under an hour would have taken a photographer, said by photographers, 10 weeks. They are redundant. They themselves are using Nano Banana because um, why have the expensive equipment, fire it up, put it to use, go through the pain, editing when you can get it done ASAP. So there is this transition period now where people like this is stuff I grew up through. Um, I was a part of the evolution of normal, just going into like a stop and then using. Well, actually, like well, my parents were more the cash to card things. They didn't trust these little kind of rectangle plastic things. My generation was more going from in-store shopping to online shopping because there's like credit card theft and details and blah 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 blah. But now, like the obvious is that I mean, not only have you got like Amazon.com being one of the most expensive, like one of the most wealthy organizations on the planet. Like this all happened like in the last 2 decades. But they're dropping the shipments via drones. So like that's the speed of evolution. So anyway, so I sat there and I looked around and I just thought, okay, maybe these guys have got 2 years. Maybe they're okay for 2 years. Then what? And to be honest, I just don't have the answer because it takes people buying things to keep an economy going. Without money, and I mean, you obviously see it now, like for you to go out and kind of buy a house or even a car or whatever the case is, the cost of things are insane. So it can't be kept up. There's obviously a big crash or something looming. But just like COVID, like sure people kind of found their groove and they're getting back into things, but then what, bro? Like what's gonna happen after 2 years' time? What's
Yeah,
gonna happen?
Canada right now is like they kind of know what's going on and our unemployment is really, really bad. And we kind of just throw money out the window here in our government. So what they're trying to introduce in the next couple of years is a universal basic income. So anyone who doesn't work gets paid, I think it's up to $2,000 a month Canadian just to live. Yeah.
Imagine that, dude. Just for a second, like say that's going to happen flawlessly. There's nothing that can go wrong with that. That just says, I mean, this like who's paying the who's paying, let's say for example, your dad goes to work and you are for some whatever reason between jobs and you're unemployed. So you are then eligible for universal basic income or whatever they want to call it. So your dad's got to put in that 20% extra time, effort, and energy so that that $2,000 is available. I mean, not, I mean, all of, and still pay like all the exorbitant taxes on fuel, taxes on everything, and get that extra $2,000 so that you've got it. Because the government's in massive debt. So it's not like they've got the money to give to others. So immediately, whoever's earning is going to be absolutely obliterated because they're not only carrying their own family, they're carrying strangers who are eating Cheetos and smoking weed and playing Xbox. Um, but also, like when you raise the tide, then all of a sudden everyone's kind of comfortable at a certain threshold. So they might as well be poor again because property prices are going to go up, saying we don't want these guys who can only offer $700 a month rent or whatever the case may be. Not that really exists anyway. Um, and then food prices are going to go up because now everyone can afford the same thing. So shelves are going to go empty too quickly. So they have to increase it so that this demand and supplies are going to kick in. Like that's just going to bomb the situation. It's going to bomb it. The $2,000, they haven't got the money for that. Where's it going to come from? And if everyone is $2,000 richer, they're going to get back to how wealthy they were before it all came in anyway, because of supply and demand needing to balance. So, dude, like with that, that's insane. And I'm feeling this now because I've got a lot of American friends, guys who've worked their whole life to be established, cybersecurity, a auctioneer, I can't remember all the fancy terms, a super smart chartered accountant for a private equity firm, and these guys are barely making it through the month. So I can only imagine what the other, I mean, that's why I see fentanyl on the rise and homelessness and everyone going crazy because like it's alarming. But that's not the concern as of yet, even so, because the but it's still we're still in a mind frame. Whereas let's say I'll just keep going back to your dad because he's relatable. His management have got a it's worked this way in the past, why change it mentality.
Mhm.
This stuff is too risky. Go out and do your job. So it's these guys, those guys, and it's the 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, the guys who've made it work through recessions and up and down, that sort of thing, who are thinking it's okay just to keep on doing it the way we were doing it. And I want to go to each of them and grab them by the shoulders and just shake them up and say, bro, you got to imagine your business is dead. And you got to imagine something else has come in and replaced it and then become that something else before it comes in and does exactly said things. So I'm very grateful that your dad is forward thinking and he's looking to get into the mechanism of automating his current profession as well as whilst he's getting into a new one, at least have this sellable reproduct. So the conversation I had with him, and it's a conversation I'm having with you as well, is that the let's say for example your dad was an independent and he only worked for himself. For an investor to buy his company when your dad exits, um, it's difficult because Sean's got the personal touch. He's got the way he communicates with his clients. He's got his signature. And when he leaves the company, sure, they've got the client database and certain cash flow that comes in and such. When he leaves the company, there isn't much like he guts the company when he leaves. So for an investor to get in, they're basically buying the client database. Now, if he instead systematically downloads all of his best qualities, his knowledge in where he sources from, his knowledge in how he handles clients, his knowledge in downturns and upturns. If he like replicates his experience into an AI-driven automated workflow, all of a sudden his value and what he can exit with is sellable to multiples because said investor is not buying Sean, they're buying the automated process that triggers like dominoes and loops back and goes down different paths under certain conditions. And that is super valuable. So obviously, through automating charts and automating the Bitcoin process and master the chart, master the trade, master the self, all that kind of stuff. Like I get that. So once MTOPS AI is it's running, not that I ever want to sell it, but I can go to any wealth management, and there are many, any wealth management firm or multiples of them, and say, guys, this is what you can offer your customers. It's automated. Them hiring me as a trader versus me offering that infrastructure as a system is two different worlds of conversation and value as well. So here's the thing about retiring people is that the likes of yourself, like young guns as yourself, they are taking with them decades of knowledge. And why that's problematic is because sometimes, especially I'm just talking about sales department here because every business needs to generate income and sales does that. In a sales environment, it's about how much money can I make for myself and I got to protect my client base. So if, for example, that then goes to, no, what I'm trying to say is that the way in which things are done individually makes it difficult for any sales professional to share their secret sauce with the other sales guys in the office because evidently they're in competition to each other. There's a customer that wants to buy that product. Whoever gets there first, or if it's geographically split, or whatever the case may be, they're kind of they can't share knowledge. They won't, by human nature, share all of their skill sets and knowledge to one another, and therefore it's very unlikely for when they exit to put that said knowledge into practice for the apprentices and the new guys coming through. So someone like your dad who's proficient in his skill leaves a void as he walks out of the operation. And that's not unique to him. That's happening all over the show. Today, this year, last year, next year, all the time. So we've got these wisdom powerhouses walking out, leaving voids behind, who are going into retirement, playing golf, walking around in their like white New Balance shoes and talking about the weather, who are just going to waste. Like they're not adding value to the next generations because the next generations are crapping themselves, going, everything's so fast, everything's been invented before. AI is smarter than humans now, so what's the point? And it's just like there's this major gap between the two worlds. So this is part and parcel why I'm going to dedicate my afternoons to the advancement of MTOPS AI and the process and ordering and charting and all that kind of stuff and automating that. But I've made it my dedication now to try and be a part of this transition for medium companies or professionals because like your dad because these like for the most part, these giants who are investing and it's all record, it's not hypothetically thumbsucked, tens and hundreds of millions into the transition to the operation are going to go out and make it incredibly hard to compete against because they've done the work, it's already in play. Why waste time for like if a client doesn't have time to waste, why give a small and medium business the opportunity where a big business can get the job done fast, cheap, and move on with your day? It's the only thing that's going to potentially save a business is people's compassion for someone else, people wanting to deal with other people. But that's so limited if it exists at all, because ultimately the construct to business is get it done faster, get it done cheaper, make as much money as I can from it. And compassion for others, you know, kumbaya, let's hug because I've known you for 5 years. that's got a runway attached to it. So and that's for relationships that are pre-existing. The young guns like yourself who are going out there and building an infrastructure and a world for yourself in the professional field, you don't have that luxury of experience and relationships, and you've been there to help them out of a sticky situation, so they're going to stick with you and that kind of stuff. You're competing against speed, do-it-yourself culture, and so forth. So if you look at agencies, even like back in the day, 10 years ago, a lot of guys would kind of stick to their niche, do what they're strong at, and then offset the stuff that they're not so good at to recruitment agencies because they're not recruitment based, or shipping agencies if they've got stuff to ship, or marketing agencies if they want to find new customers and that kind of stuff. They don't need to do that anymore. They can literally hire a couple of guys, vibe coders out of college, and get marketing agencies in-house, recruitment agencies in-house. Who knows about the other elements? I haven't checked it out, but why not shipping agencies in-house? It's information brought into context by an intelligent understanding and operation. And maybe agencies are going to AI anyway to get this information. So businesses are skipping beyond their requirements to outsource, because if it's not readily available, then they've got a couple of young guns who can make it happen now. So this is why this AI driven automation, I think, is paramount to the likes of yourself and your friends and so forth, more so than anything else, because property consulting, as well, trading and all that kind of stuff, unless it's automated and turned into a sellable system for investors to maybe jump in on, or whatever the case would be, um, I just see anyone in an office in a lot of danger. And my friends know that, like, I obviously like temperature check, and I speak to a bunch of guys. I've got this guy Ryan. He has excavators and he does like different holes, water catchment, or designing of like water flow down the mountain to the farms, that sort of thing. So he's got equipment. He gets into the dirt and that kind of stuff. And I was like, he's kind of safe for now. Like unless robots come and take his job, which is kind of futuristic, for the time being, he's okay. But he said that his mates who are lawyers and that kind of stuff get really agitated with him because they're like, why aren't you contacting me for legal work anymore? And all the obvious, like he's going to ChatGPT, he's asking the whole big document to be dumbed down. He's using his own kind of street smarts as to what it all means to him. It's all relatable into like just normal conversational jargon, and he acts upon it within the hour. Law firms, 3 weeks, $100 per session, this, that, retainers, that kind of stuff. Dude, these guys are going down big league and fast. And I mean, and I just feel poorly for them because on a personal front, like my godfather, my dad's brother, he's in law and he's just gone, maybe it's uncorrelated, but it's hard not to see the connection. He's just gone into get like a bypass heart surgery, something to like these guys are not living a very stable, predictable environment. So to to kind of bring it back into the context of this session, um, I would say I would put everything else as second priority because this is the new thing. So if you look at Bitcoin, when was the best time to invest? 20 years ago. If you look at whatever property, when is the best time? Whatever, 20 years ago, or maybe 100 years ago for property. But with this is the pre-Facebook. It's still kind of getting there. Like I mean, it's just wild, bro. Like a year ago, I was like kind of walking, no, maybe a year or two ago, I was walking around quite, confident because I'm a part of ChatGPT, which, it's learning so fast and it's growing so much, at 100 active users a month. This year, I've just learned that they have 1 billion active users per month. So it's just gone exponential. I mean, 10x. Where else? other than Bitcoin every some years. Do you get something that 10x's like that? And the thing is, bro, just on that, and there's a lot of information done, but it's all relevant, is that these companies from China that are open sourcing their AI from experience are outdoing, except with the exception of Grok, are outdoing Gemini, Meta, which is Facebook's thing, and the American companies. So so even though ChatGPT has got 100 million and stuff, if you look at the population of China or Asia, Russia, there's stuff that guys aren't even keeping their fingers on the pulse around that are also going to come in and disrupt just the AI models industry. And like as you already know, I've written AI models from scratch. So I get the architecture, I get the customization, I get the data requirement, I get the whole conversation. So the only thing from experience now, and this is, yeah, I guess another side story is about learning how the chain of thought and thinking actually works. So this is where the automation thing comes in, and it's just fascinating. What I said many years ago and what is still true today is that the difference between intelligence is compute power. For the most part, the architecture remains the same. You can make some adjustments, and there's a lot of like kind of trial and error and that kind of thing going on. But for the most part, having having a AI model that focuses on said what task, and another AI model that's kind of as smart with different parameters or different input data. The big thing between the two is compute, and these guys are pumping in massive money into that. So this year alone, the AIs are smarter than most humans you'll ever meet. So what does this all mean to you? Even though they are smart, they are hallucinating. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that with even the purest input data, it's scrubbed, cleaned, it's crystal clear, it's well organized. For the most part, when ChatGPT started, it just scraped websites, which means it got the data off of websites, put it into JSON format, which is just structured text, and then put that into like large databases for the AI to learn, like context. Um, so let's say, and that's messy, right? So maybe that became synthesized, maybe it's better, maybe it's whatever. So assuming that the data input is perfect, which it isn't, but mostly just assuming it is. The difference is that why AIs hallucinate, why they make assumptions and get things wrong, is because it's the validation, it's called test validation data that they get tested against that is what is bringing the hallucinations. It's not the capability and capacity, which was the assumption. The assumption was that the architecture of the AI models were incorrect, but it's not that. It's in recent studies have learned is that the examples provided by humans is what is throwing the hallucinations off for these AI models. So it's not their intellect. And to kind of get into like the scary part about it is that with vibe coding, AI is using AI to get ahead already. Humans are just currently building the bridge. But I can show you websites that prototypes are done, websites are done, which would cost normally tens of thousands and weeks of work, done within an hour. And you can go back and it actually edits it well enough to get ahead. You can make adjustments, change the contact info, change the logo, whatever the case would be. The whole thing. Um, so it's the example. So once the AI uses the AI to correct itself, then humans no longer need to be a part of the loop. So we're not there yet, but who's to say that's not around the corner? Who's to say that Russia or China haven't already got there? And actually, DeepSeek from China, from Asia, it could be from Singapore, Vietnam, whatever, from Asia, the guys are using reinforcement learning to get that stuff already sorted out anyway. So it's the error of the human that made AI kind of dumb. So what that means to us is that the infrastructure is rock solid. The compute is rock solid. The speed of internet is super fast, and this digital currency that we've got sending value around the world instantaneously, it's all there. So there's a limited amount of time where, quite frankly, businesses still have customers, still have cash flow, even though it's dwindling, and still have requirements to have their workload offset so that they have more time. And with that freed up time and boosted efficiency, they can go and do what they should have done from day one, which is hard to do in this world of business, is be completely client centric. That's the only way, in my opinion, that businesses are going to survive. So this is where you step in, is that you now have the resources to start replacing or providing new virtual staff into smaller operations, as an example, but also start start replacing the old traditional business model that has been kind of a part of just our learning, whatever the case may be, and plug in the requirements of, or not the requirements, the substitutes of those functions still being adhered to, but in a boosted way, because there isn't energy slump, there isn't people going through divorces, there isn't admin people going, oh, I'm sorry, I need to go into maternity leave. So all of that comes to a grinding halt. Like there is the ability to scale. I mean, just to put it into perspective, I did a just in my region, um, wanted to find out how many insurance brokers existed, because something like this would be great for insurance brokers. They bombarded with workflow and policy, and it's a lot of like paperwork for the guys. So something like this, it would be a no-brainer for them. So I did that, and I thought, okay, let me get 20 or 30 leads of medium tier. Not, I don't want giants. I don't want like one man bands. Give me medium tier businesses in my area. Bro, it gave me up to 500, all clean, all emails, all I mean, emails are something like info at, so it's not necessarily to decision maker. The numbers, the physical address, what would have taken me 6 months to get, it got me almost instantaneously. And with that, I've now got a starting point that can scrub, record, follow back, because I could never, ever physically, mentally manage a database of 500 potential customers, because by the 10th one, I would have forgotten what I'd said to the first one, and I would have been like, wait, who's at the convention until next week? Blah, 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 blah. This automates the thing, the thing, the thing. And the kicker, and this is the big thing for you, and the big thing I need you to remember going forward, is when you're dealing with your clients, is that it's no longer just workflow automation where one trigger hits the next trigger to the next trigger. It's automation in context. It's automation done the way in which that professional, that company, that ethos would have done it. Because in our next session, I'll show you what it looks like from underneath. Each element now has something called it's RAG technology. It's just kind of buzzwords for saying, like, imagine a librarian before the internet and stuff. You walk into the library and say, I want a self-help book on business. She'll go to find it, help you out with it, sort you out, and then you can say, maybe I need something on wellness and fitness as well. Da, da, da. So she's like the kind of the point of information that goes back and forth and helps out. So that's what RAG essentially is. So it's AI agents interacting directly with a said person's knowledge base, said person's database of clients, said person's email, whatever the case is. It's this librarian that's doing all of this stuff on behalf of a person. Now, the problem where a lot of companies sit at the moment is that they think that something like a chat GPT or whatever the case would be is all you need. But that's not workflow automation. That's just AI assistance. So workflow, because you still got to go copy, paste, put it in, blah, 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 blah. The workflow automation I'm going to be taking you through is that it gets to step two. Step two does its function. Cool. It gets to step three. Step three has got its own AI agent that you give an identity towards. You say, you are admin clerk who is professional at scrubbing sales data on behalf of your sales team, and it is um, your role to make sure that the numbers are valid, not only from the directory, but on the website and maybe even a Facebook page. Then with that, you need to update that into the CRM or Excel document, whatever the case may be. And once that's done, tell the next person that that's done so that the next AI agent can update it can go to all the listed websites, go through the front page or the About Me thing, and summarize what that particular company does or is good at. So
Yeah.
all of that sort of thing would have taken blood, sweat, and tears. That can all get
Nice.
done within 3 hours,
Wow.
automated, and in the way specifically to that person's requirements. So the difference between AI assistance and what you're going to be learning and practicing is that it's they call them silos. It's trigger point to trigger point to trigger point. You're going to be providing an office floor of virtual operators customized to the branch, to the sales manager, to the sales advisors individually, whatever the case is. You're replicating, and even if it's a small operation, guys with a team of five, you're giving them now the resources of a floor of 45 clerks, people reaching out, marketing, videos being generated, pipeline reports. It's business practice as it is, solving business problems, but in a step-by-step way, enhanced by context at each step. So this is why I'm saying it's super important to prioritize this over everything else because I don't know what it's going to be like 2, 3 years down the line. I do know that this is still early adopter stage, but I also still think that people don't understand that AI and AI driven workflow automation aren't the same thing. So that's where the opportunity comes in for the likes of you and I and others who are discovering in this field. Now, whilst there are still businesses to help.
Yeah. I realized that in this like in property is that it takes a shit long of time to get like deals done, get contracts signed, get
Mm,
contracts reviewed, get all the legal things,
mm,
like pulling documents, pulling land titles and all this kind of stuff. It takes forever.
yeah,
Usually, if you're like a single man job, like you're not part of a brokerage branch, you're on your own.
yeah.
It takes like 3 months for a sale to like completely close and you get your money.
Wow.
And I've really like ever since you told me, look into this, I did hours of research. Like, I read a lot of stuff down here. Um, is that like you're completely right that it's it's gonna change because this is just so much more efficient. And I've already thought of it for myself because like when I go kind of off my own and I have enough experience, like I would really love to have my own workflow automation for myself. So something that can review